Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen, and welcome to the first episode of Blue Collar Insiders. In the studio virtually today, I have my partner, Greg Giroux of True Pros and Giroux Electric. Greg, we got a lot to talk about today.
I'm sure we do.
You don't know what, but
I have no idea, which is the best part.
So I tell you what, let's just jump into Blue Collar Insiders right out of the gate.
Okay.
You give me your version of it, and then I'm going to follow up with my version of it.
All right. It's a way to help small businesses truly understand how to operate a business and succeed, from people to finances. Again, you're the people person,
Yeah.
for sure. And my expertise is the finance side.
Yeah.
That's the best way I'd describe it. I'm sure you'll make it sound a lot prettier.
I'm going to church it up a little bit. Well, I've mentioned and have been mentioning on the podcast that the coaching is evolving. I've been having conversations with my current clients that the coaching is evolving, and it's completely transforming, and it's transforming in a way that we're going to be able to serve more people better. And we have been going back and forth for several months now. There's been so much work behind the scenes to have this conversation, to launch our webinar, the boot camp, and to launch and develop Blue Collar Insiders. So we've been trying to get to this moment for quite a while now, probably since April, honestly. Since we did the 2-day business builder together.
Yep.
We've been trying
that was essentially that was the experiment, right?
It was the experiment. It was experiment on multiple levels.
Yes, I agree.
One, are we going to work well together? Right. Like,
well, I mean, officially that was the first time we had met in person.
It was.
Being on the other side of the country. Yeah.
And, to back up a little bit, to add some context to that, we had started having conversations about how True Pros can work with the Tradesman Experience and what does that look like. And then we decided that you were going to come to the 2-day business builder and present with the financials and financial operations and gauges of the company. And you came there, you closed out day 1, you kicked off day 2, you knocked it out of the park. And you and I both got done with that massive 2-day event. I don't think people understand like how
it's an undertaking.
It's an undertaking. Like,
there's
how
a lot
immersive
involved.
that is.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's really not.
Yeah, it's really not. But you and I walked away from that unknowingly with the same thought. And when we had our follow-up conversation from the builder, we decided to, instead of trying to work together as 2 separate entities, we're just going to partner up.
It just makes more sense.
It makes more sense.
These 2 parts of a business are so important to each other, because I've seen way too many programs and coaching that are one or the other. And it's great. You can master one side. And I see a lot of businesses where one side is naturally good at one of these 2. And it's always the other side that cripples the business. You could be amazing with finances, but if you suck with people, you're not going to have a business, and vice versa. And it's usually the opposite. Like, I think actually, for the most part, from what I see, it's both. It's both. 'Cause a lot of trades people were not bred to be managers. That's why they started their own business, because they can do it better themselves. And then the finance part, it's non-existent. Or almost non-existent. It's kind of figuring out the hard way. Everybody figures it out because you have to some extent.
Well, the most common practice that I have seen with financial operations in a company is all of the money goes into one bucket, and all of the bills, payroll, taxes, everything is paid out of the same bucket. And once that transition is made, or that transaction is made, the owners look in the bucket and see if there's any money left.
Right. At the very end, they look and they're like, oh, how did I only make that? Or, oh, wow, there's more in there
Mhm.
than I thought, which is sometimes the case, but
Sometimes, but what they're doing is they're looking at their P&L as a gauge of what's supposed to be in the bucket, and they look in the bucket and there's nothing in there, and now they're confused.
right. And then by the time they dive into it and try to figure out what's going wrong, that it's a mess because you've done half or haven't done half of everything you really need to do, not supposed to. You need to. So
Yeah,
that's
you need to, and you and I both know from experience that the mistake that people make is they try to do it on their own. They try to figure the shit on their own.
well, right. And that's where I talk about the transition between being employed, self-employed, and owning a business. When
Mhm.
you're employed, you get to go to work 7 to 3 and you get paid for it. And you're like, well, hell, I'm not making enough money. I'm going to go do this myself. So then you become self employed, which is the same thing, except for now that you're self employed, you're doing the work you were doing for the company you left plus the administrative job
Mhm.
or not. And you're just trading your time for money and then wondering why you're not getting anywhere.
And that's the common recipe in small business, and it's definitely the common
Absolutely.
recipe in the blue collar industries because they think that
Stubborn.
well, obviously we have to be, right? We have
Yeah,
to be hard-headed knuckle
we
trackers
have to be.
to do the work that we do, but no one ever stops to think, okay, just because I'm really good at carpentry, what does that what does that mean about business? How does that make me a good business owner?
Chair.
How does that make me a good leader? How does that make me good at finances? How does that make me good at sales? How does that make me good at marketing? It doesn't make you good at any of that.
Nope.
And because we have a skill set and a truck full of tools, we go out into the market every day and we try to solve problems and we go broke doing it
Or work ourselves to the bone.
to death. So that is all uh, the 2-day business builder, everything we've been working on, you know, the the conversation that we're have is the the blue collar insiders, which is that's what we have developed. That is the new program. That is the new coaching program. We are kicking off with a set of webinars that are free. And when this comes out, we will have done our first webinar. There's 2 to follow. So when this comes out, this Wednesday, there's going to be one, and the following Wednesday, there's going to be a webinar, and it's going to be a great introduction into the new coaching. But I would like for us to get into a little bit of the coaching and educate our listeners onto more detail on how this is transforming and how it's going to be better for them. So Nate, I think Nate says it really great, but Greg, you know, I've had the tradesman experience. This is my 5th season with the podcast, 4th year of coaching. You were the missing piece of
Oh,
my
it
coaching.
makes me feel special
You are.
on multiple levels.
Multiple levels, because what you had referred to earlier is I would touch on finances, but I wasn't educating people on finances. We wouldn't dive deep into them. I wasn't teaching them how to read the financial gauges of a company. I was focusing on leadership and operations. And I realized that as I matured as a coach and looking at this business, that I was, as all businesses, me being the leader, I was the limiting factor. So when tradesman experience and true pros connected throughout the world, and as your wife jokes, love at first sight happened, you know, and we just immediately became friends, right? Like I remember when I picked you up at the airport, it was like we're immediately friends, and we've
Oh
been
yeah,
friends for
like
a decade. Like this is great.
like yeah, I had known you for years.
Yeah. Um, so the way that the coaching is going to transform is again the style of the one-to-one hourly coaching is not available anymore, and it is phasing out. Which I've had this conversation with my clients; they know it's phasing out, but it's phasing out because everybody's going to be redirected to the new coaching program, and it's going to be multi-layered. And we are going to have webinars, right? There's going to be webinars at no cost. We're going to do topic specific conversations, and those are we're going to do those monthly. The next level um, of that, which I think really is the 12-week boot camp, right? We're doing the 12-week course. And what I'm excited about, Greg, is that people are going to get to sign up for this and digest this really at their pace, but also with accountability,
Some guidance
some guidance,
instead
some
of being
accountability.
force fed a bunch of information in a couple days and trying to go conquer the world at the
Right,
same time you're trying to run your business.
right. And, the way that you and I have this set up is, I mean, we're both involved. We're both going to be involved in the 12-week course. There's going to be recorded, right? We're going to launch a lesson, a recorded lesson that week. You're going to have quote unquote homework. Nobody likes that word, but you're going to have an action item, okay, uh, given to you, and then we're going to jump on with the group for an accountability call. And going through that 12-week course, that 12-week boot camp, automatically gives you the opportunity to do multiple things. One is you're going to get to continue your participation in the course and in the Facebook groups and in the webinars and all of the things that come along with being part of that. But it also opens you up to the opportunity for one-to-one coaching with Greg
Absolutely.
and or myself. Because that first 12 weeks is really a roadmap to get you on the right direction. And then if you want a higher level involvement with you and your company, that's going to be available. Which I
That's
am
where the magic happens.
that it really is. But you know, strange things happen, Greg. When you and I first started this conversation, and I was still chasing hourly clients and this and that, I was starting to talk to people that I realized did not need one-to-one coaching.
Yeah.
They needed a program, they
Right.
needed a community, and they needed structure and guidance throughout these understandings of business and finances and leadership before they ever needed that specific one-to-one coaching. And I think a lot of businesses will benefit from the opportunity of being part of that community and being in the group coaching and having the weekly accountability calls and action items. That's going to help them again create a roadmap for that business. Back to what I was saying earlier, you being the missing link in all of this is I wasn't able to provide this level of coaching by myself.
Yeah. I can see that for sure.
It was yeah, it was just I was treading water and I couldn't figure out why.
Missing pieces. I mean, you kind of figure it out. I don't want to say figure it out as you go, but that's kind of what it is you figure out how to better, you get to a point where you've helped, but you feel like there's got to be a way to better serve, right?
Hmm.
Like, how can you offer more and how do you take it to the next level? Because you get to a point where, yeah, great, you've hammered in your whole part, but there's still a whole bunch of missing pieces that you don't specialize in. That what you just say, well, yeah, I brought you to this point now. Best of luck. Like, no, you want to see
Right.
these people succeed and do well in their businesses. So how do you kind of incorporate it all?
Hmm.
And I think that's what you're getting at to what we're doing here.
It is what we're doing. And having this structure is allowing us to give them the tools that they need to go to work.
Yes.
And I feel like at some point, one-to-one coaching can be limiting to your growth. And that's something that I always try to be careful with is I didn't want them codependent on me.
Right. Or too focused on one particular item because
Mhm.
they're spending that time coaching with you just on that one piece.
Mhm.
So they get so good and proficient at one, but then again, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where like that one-to-one starts to trail off.
Mhm. Yeah. That being said, there is also a tremendous amount of value in the one-to-one coaching, right? Because you can attack specific things.
From like the way we're structuring it moving forward, I
Yeah.
absolutely agree because you're going to implement all the stuff. You're going to go through this course. You're going to want somebody to hold you accountable and push you and really help you dial it in because you're going to have a lot of questions. You'll take the base information, you'll run with it, you'll set up your company the way you
Mhm,
want it. But it's good to have somebody to hold you accountable and
mhm.
to not hold your hand, but guide you.
Guide you, bounce ideas off of,
Yep. Am I
and
doing this right? This is what I've done.
mhm,
Instead of just being like, well, this is what I thought they said and send it.
yep,
You got to be careful.
you do. But I think that's where the community comes in, right?
Absolutely.
Having access to a community of like-minded people where you can throw a question out and get different perspectives.
We need that. We need more of that, and not just with us, anywhere. I mean, we need collectively as tradespeople, any trade,
Mhm,
to talk to each other about how we're doing things. What are your processes? What are your procedures? How did you get big? How did you get that small? Like you were big. You like what
mhm.
happened? Tell your story, good or bad. That's how you learn
That's where the
and help
value
others.
is.
Right.
Y Yeah. The one of the other benefits that's gonna come along with this new coaching program is the two yes, the two-day business builder is going to continue, it's going to stay, but there's
That's where
also
the
going to
that's where the real
be
fun happens.
it is, that's where we get to beat people, uh, get to hit them with stuff. We're gonna be developing an exclusive mastermind, where we do an in-person mastermind annually, and it's only for the people that are in the coaching. And so and that just goes back to the power of community. And, you know, really what you and I are wanting to do is, and this was the cool thing when you and I really spent a lot of time together and started hashing these out, is we wanted to accomplish the same thing. We're doing it with two different vehicles, and I think that's one of the things that excites me.
Yep. That is definitely they're very complimenting.
Mhm.
And that's the I think the magic to this is they're two very, very much needed pieces. And it's honestly, it's not everything, but it's a bulk.
Mhm.
It's I think the most two important pieces of a business because
So
where
you
where are all the troubles in your business? Think about it.
people are prophets,
That's it.
right? And
People and money.
and the connecting thread of those two is operations. And I think that's why the 3 of those things coming together here with us and launching the Blue Collar Insiders and launching the coaching program, um, eh, being able to help people structure those things, those 3 things, people, profits, and again, the connectivity is operations, whether it's a systematic operation and operating software like JobTread or ServiceTitan or FieldPulse, or financial operations, you've got QuickBooks, and looking at how to integrate the operations of the business that's going to support those two things, leadership and people, you know profits and money. One thing I've learned, and I'm curious to see, since you've had conversations, you were at the builder working and building this. I'm going to share with you my perspective, and I'm curious to see what you think. I figured out that most contractors are scared to look ignorant when it comes to their finances.
100% self included. Been there. Been there.
Yeah, I got my hand in the air for those listening, not watching.
And I mean, the younger you are, the worse it is. But not for all. But as you age, you start to wisen up, and you figure out that you know what, maybe it's time to ask some people who have done this the right way how they did it, and you'll be surprised because there's a lot of people out there that'll give you some eye-opening information.
Mhm.
If you're asking your peers and they're all of the same mindset, don't expect good results. I see that happen way too often. Way too often. Oh, that Joe the plumber's doing it. Bob the electrician's doing it this way. I'm gonna do it just like that and kill it. I'm like, be careful.
Mhm.
You don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
And you only know what they're sharing.
And that's the don't know part.
Mhm, mhm.
You don't know what you don't know, and that's the behind the scenes stuff that It looks shiny on the outside, no different than social media these days. You look at all these glorious people and families and friends, and you think everything is great. But behind the scenes, you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's going on between the ears of people. It's all what they show you on the outside. And business is no different.
Mhm. Well,
No different.
that $100,000 dually and that $200,000 boat is just a filter.
Yep.
It's a filter, a lens that they want everyone to look through to see them, and it's not the reality.
And the reality for the most is that is it's really ugly behind the scenes is they are stressed to the absolute hills. They're in the debt up to their ears. And now they've created this monster that they have to feed because they have so many payments for so many toys and so many things because they built this lifestyle that they quote unquote deserved,
Mhm,
built off of a poor financial platform. And
mhm.
it most of them fail. And you see these stories over and over again. And it's so sad to watch these talented people build these businesses and then the whole thing come crashing down. And you're like, what happened? That's what happened. And it's sad because
Mhm.
we're all talented. Anybody who starts their own business with a craft or a trade is typically pretty talented.
Typically.
Typically, not all. Trust
Mhm.
me, not all.
Nope.
But I do see it from both sides of the fence. I mean, you look at some of these people that are I don't want to call them hacks, but what we define as hacks or corner cutters. Some of them they are hacks, but most of them I don't think started that way.
Mhm.
I think they got chewed up and spit out.
They did get chewed up and spit out, but the business is so similar to the craft. How many how many craftsmen or tradesmen, how many blue collar people have you seen that think they're really good at their craft and they're fucking terrible at it? They they're like, "What? That's." I almost got into a fist fight
Countless.
with a GC on a job one day because we had a very clear disagreement as to what level grade meant with they put the rock down, we were putting in floor heat down, and holy shit, you coulda flipped over a car on this grade. It was so terrible, and he just thought it was perfect. He thought it was fine, and he was arguing with me. So, I think business is the same way. Go ahead.
I, I, I'm going to try to be nice here, but there's no way. If it's that bad, there's that. Those aren't people that are. Those are people that just don't care. He probably damn well knew that it was on level, but he didn't care.
Oh, no, he didn't. He cared about getting to the bar at 1 o'clock every day.
Right, right. So,
A
and
and that's the shit thing, right? It's that's who we compete against.
it is. But again, did they start there? Did they go to the bar every day before they started a business? Some of them, I'm sure. But again,
Mhm,
I see what happens is people they go for the vices. They get stressed out. They get into a business and they start to self destruct because they can't handle the pressure. There's staggering statistics of the mental state of entrepreneurs. And I hate to stereotype tradespeople, but they're usually the grungier of the bunch. I mean,
mhm,
I'll be the first to admit that that was me, or labeled as that. Doesn't mean that I actually am, but that's how I was labeled in society. So you can only handle so much as a human being,
mhm,
and then you add this whole layer of management to your craft. Like, not only is it hard to wake up in the morning and go out and do a fabulous job of your craft, but then you got to worry about managing your people and the money. Most people don't even want to do that, and I don't blame
mhm,
them. It's not what you signed up for, but unfortunately, it is what you signed up for because you don't want to be where you are.
mhm.
Most people don't get into business to lose money and to lose time. Most people start a business because they want the quote unquote freedom. I'm going to have more time to myself. Well, you'll have more time to yourself sometimes.
Mhm.
And then other times, there'll be times where you have to do it and you don't have a choice. There is no, it's 3 o'clock and I'm going home. You have to do it or you'll fail. You'll fail. Sometimes you got to grind. And that's where people are like, well, I have my freedom and flexible schedule. I'm like, you do and you don't.
Mhm.
And you make more money. Well, you do and you don't.
Um, I think
For the
that's
hours you're
another
working, you're not.
right.
Really.
That's another fucked up thing that social media provides us is all of these business owners and entrepreneurs that are working on a beach somewhere with their laptop, and they have this freedom and they have this flexibility. And that's, one of my biggest arguments is always that's not the blue collar world. You
No.
you can develop at some point if you're willing to bootstrap a business and grow it and hire, learn money, learn people, delegate, systematic operation, and eventually grow yourself out of a job, you can get to that sense
I
of freedom.
I've done it.
Mhm,
I've done it. From the apprentice in the screaming 120-degree attics to an office, and to an office that I don't have to be in every single day
mhm,
and may fail if I'm not there. They're not dependent on me. Yes, I need to be here, and yes, I have to make sure that it is on the rails,
mhm,
but they don't need to come to me with every little decision. I've empowered them to make decisions on the company's behalf. They know what's in the best interest of the company, and they're here for the company,
mhm.
and we all work together.
Yeah.
But
You have
again,
some good leaders in your company.
I do. I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for the team that I have. They're all fantastic, and what's fantastic about a good team is all the way down the chain. If you find somebody who doesn't fit in, they'll flag them
Mhm,
real quick, because they know how it impacts them and the business and their culture and the family that we've created here. So that's the people side, and
mhm.
I've had good cultures and I've lost them, and just figured, maybe it
Mhm,
was the people. I had no idea that it was my problem and my fault. It all came down to me and my leadership style and how I manage people and my expectations. Josh helped me with a lot of this,
mhm.
but I've had multiple
We've
good
had
teams.
some good conversations, and we've had good meetings and good trainings with your team.
But I've lost a lot of good
Mhm,
members. I've lost an unbelievable amount, and they leave sour, and it crushes me. I'm not just one of those like churn and burn. Like, when you come here, I want you to stay here. I want you to be part of this team and part of this family and grow with us. And I've always offered everybody that's worked here and works here currently the world. The sky is the limit. You tell me where you want to go and what you want to do, and we'll do it. And they get all excited about it. I didn't know how to coach that and push
mhm.
that and turn them into leaders, so they wanted to push. So they're just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just waiting for Greg to tell me what to do." And then I'd get overwhelmed, and then it becomes a false promise, and then I become a jerk. And it's that simple. It's simple little things like that that
Mhm.
you just don't know. And that's just the people side. I won't even get
They
into the finance side.
and that's just the tip of the iceberg of the people side.
Literally just the tip of the iceberg of the people side. The people are the hardest part of a business, but
Mhm,
it doesn't have to be. It's in what you make it
mhm.
and what you cultivate. Very
Right?
important.
The the type of leader you choose to become.
Correct. And the expectations that you set on the people below
Mhm,
you to set on the people below them. And again, structure in a way where everybody feels like there's room
mhm.
and that there's a future.
Talk to me about scarcity mindset in business owners.
That's the whole, "Oh, I can't afford a new van," or "I can't afford I can't afford that type of help." Yeah, I was there. Hired the cheapest guys, bought the crappiest vans because it was cheap. I was saving a bunch of money. Saved a bunch of money, yeah, saved a lot of money. The money that it cost me by saving money, uh, is ridiculous. You are better off hiring somebody, again, if they're worth it,
Mhm,
they gotta be stellar. But if you could hire 2 guys at $20 an hour to babysit them every 2 seconds and worry about every job they're doing that they're gonna fuck up, or hire 1 guy at $60 an hour that you never have to talk to, never have a problem, no questions. He just goes and does his job and knows what he's doing and leads. 10 out of 10 times would I hire 2 of those over
mhm.
2 of them. A wise man said that 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome.
Mm,
If you're hiring people that are cheap and you're buying equipment that is cheap that you have to spend your time fixing and repairing and sinking money into, where are you getting? Where are you going? You're stuck in the business and you think you're saving money, think you can't afford it. But the reality is, if you could take that time to invest back into your company to get better help and better work, then you could afford it.
Mhm.
So again, but it all starts at the base of knowing your numbers.
When you started Giro Electric, and quick sidebar for everybody, Greg has been on here on a previous podcast, so scroll back and find because we dive into his story and his business. But when you started Giro Electric, how long was it before you hired anybody? How long were you doing it by yourself?
Like from this on my own when I officially started a business
Mhm.
and quit my job, um, 5 years?
God damn.
4, technically
Yeah.
4.
I'm sorry, that makes me wanna drink. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, I was 22, I'm like, "The world is mine, I can go crush
Yep,
it, like,
yep.
this is gonna be great," and okay. I also, from the previous podcast, decided to start this business in 2007, and if everybody remembers the economic state of 2007, it was fantastic until it wasn't. Very
Mhm.
quickly and overnight. It wasn't like a slow bleed and like, "Oh, it's getting worse." It was like the phone, somebody just unplugged it. It was gone, and I was like, "Shit." So, there was a year in between where I didn't really do anything. I had to go get a job because I had to survive. Well, I built a business up in the background and started over, and then met my partner, and we developed from there. So 2012 is where I really sat down and maybe 11 between 11 and 12 and was like, "Okay, it is time to take this and take what I've learned and turn this into a real business.
Mhm.
Stop being self-employed and turn this into a business," which was a lot of work, and I did it all, and it lasted 5 years, and I started to get burned out. I got about 4 or 5 years into it, and it was everything was going great. The team was awesome. I was involved, but I was burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. It was a lot. And once I got too tired, I got a little resentful and
Mhm.
I started to take my eye off the ball. And not directly, it was indirectly. It was subconscious and I started to lose my team and then I started to lose some money and it turned into a monster and essentially swallowed the whole company. Not to the point where we went out of business, but it was down. We were down. And I caught it, knew that there was something wrong, and rebuilt it.
Mhm.
Um, but again, quickly got tired again because I was doing everything. But that's when I started to develop a team that I gave it was the same team too. I just gave them more, I don't want to say more responsibility, but more freedom to do what they were good at instead of coming to me with every little question. Empowered them to
Mhm.
make decisions and feel like they were important here, and that's transformed to the business.
This is probably a loaded question.
Aren't they all?
True. Tw what would you tell your 22-year-old self now?
Oh my god. His ADHD wouldn't be able to handle a fraction,
That's fair. I know you, that's fair.
wouldn't be able to he would say, "Fuck this, I got this," because I reference my 22-year-old self all the time. When I'm developing, when I'm working with you, when we're coaching,
Mhm,
I'm trying to think what I thought of when I started this business, how stubborn I was, and how much I thought I had it. But again, as you age, you get wiser. And I wish, if anything, I wish I went back. The one thing and just whispered in my own ear, ask for help.
mhm,
That would be the one takeaway. Ask for help. I don't care if you read books, listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, doesn't matter. Coaching. Coaching is tradespeople typically need a little bit of hand holding. They need a little bit of push.
Mhm.
They they just they do. So the self-taught, like, it's great to get started, but you really want to take off and push, you got to latch on to somebody that's going to help you
That's why I
hone
said
your
it's a
craft.
loaded question because there's always something that's just priceless in doing that by yourself and bootstrapping it and learning those lessons.
Well,
You
yeah,
you can't replace those,
that's
but
the pride part, right?
that is the pride part.
That's the pride. That's when you go home and you're like, I fucking crushed it today. Yeah, well, you're gonna pass out at 8 o'clock because you smoked, and then you gotta wake up and do it all over again tomorrow. And that's
Mhm.
cool because tomorrow's tomorrow and not a big deal. Do that for 4 years in a row and then tell me how tomorrow is.
Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna say 4 years, that's psychotic.
But again, I had that. That's just who I am. I was one
Right.
of those, like, I've got this. I can handle this. I have to do it. Like, nobody else is going to do it as good as I can. And all the things we think.
Mhm.
And it's, if it wasn't for that dip in the economy, and I hate to use excuses like that, but I probably would have done it sooner. But that kind of set me back because I had like a year and a half to 2 years into it, and then it crashed. And then I started over and then went full bore like anybody does. Like, I'm going to turn this into a monster. And it literally, and my energy level,
Mhm.
and what it was 15 years ago. It was unstoppable in my own
Mhm.
mind. So I gave it everything I had until it stopped me, which I don't wish on anybody, because if I used that time to focus on the business more, I'd be so much further ahead because it's
Mhm.
compounding.
So, I appreciate that because that's the turn that I wanted to take was, where are you pouring your efforts? And we do take so much pride in being able to get up, grab the tools, go to work for 12 hours, run sales, do invoicing, order material, and now you've got an 18-hour day, and there's so much pride, ignorant pride that we take in our ability to get up and do that over and over and over, instead of really stepping back and going, what is it that I need to pour my efforts into as a business owner, not someone that's self-employed? Where's the highest return on investment for me? Where do I add the most value and where am I the most valued? And really starting to educate yourself on the fact that business is not about your ability to do the skill. It's about your ability to get those things done, solve those problems, hire, delegate, systemize.
And again, this is there. I know there's a lot of listeners who are like, well, I love doing what I'm doing. I love my craft. That doesn't mean you can't grow a business and go back in your craft. If I wanted to, I could be in the trade 3 days a week, no problem. I don't have that desire anymore to do that. I could. I put that time elsewhere, but I could. And elsewhere, I mean not Giro Electric related
Mhm.
thing, other businesses, other ventures, other investments. But I could. So if that's something you want to do, you can absolutely build a team and still go out and work with your guys, work in the field. And let me tell you how powerful that is. That is awesome. And they love it. They
Mhm.
lo- and I would love to do that, but I just have my brain is so going at 1,000 miles an hour that I'm always trying to conquer the world.
Well, you have other interests.
I do. And it's you can't I can't focus it all in one place.
Mhm.
That's the ADHD.
What's really great about what you're saying is you can afford yourself the opportunity to go work in your craft
And love it
and love it,
and
and
get
I
paid
think
really well to do it.
oh, yeah.
And choose to do it, not have to do it.
Choose to do it. Yeah,
That's the important.
I would pick and choose the jobs that I got involved with, in the HVAC company. We'd get to I
Awesome.
had a team of people that I was literally in their way. No matter what I was doing, I was in their way, and they would tell me that. That's how I know.
That's
They're like,
awesome.
Can you leave? You are in the way. You're slowing us down." I'm like, "Oh, damn it." But something else that business owners need to understand is that being a business owner is not a role in the company. Owner is not a role in the company. You
No.
have the responsibility, you have the liability, you're taking the risk, but ownership is its own role. So if you're going to be an owner of a company and you're also going to work as, let's just say that you got back into van doing electrical and you were running service calls. Guess what? Your role in the company is not owner. The role in that you're playing is service tech. So guess who you answer to? Your service manager,
Yep.
because you work for the same company they do.
Correct.
And you can't be there and be like, well, I'm the owner. No, motherfucker. You're a
Nope.
service tech. This is the role. Owner is not a
You
role in the business.
you chose to step into that role.
Uh-huh. That's
That's
right.
fine. But step into the well-oiled machine that you created. Because if you're going to jump in there and you're going to push back and be like, well, I'm doing it my way because I'm the owner, well, everybody's going to look at you and be like, why do I follow it? You built it this way and you expect us to do something different than what you're doing?
Mhm.
Doesn't work like that.
And that's the mistake I see small business owners make is they operate at a different expectation than they have of their team, and they don't follow systems, they don't clock in and out, they don't do invoices, they don't operate in the role that they're participating in because they think that they're the owner.
I mean, there were times when I would go out and handle a service call because we were short staffed or whatever the case may be. And I'd get yelled at by my own team because I didn't clock in and clock out and put the notes in. And yeah, I'd get
Yeah.
scolded.
You know, when every time I got into a service truck, you know who I worked for? Mama D.
They
I worked for Mama D. That's who I worked for. And
That's great.
she could care less how much of that company I owned because she ran the service department. I was a service technician and a service truck. So guess what I did?
Followed the
It's the same
rules.
thing fucking everybody else did. That's exactly what. And she would hunt my ass down for receipts and invoices but that's because she had full ownership of her role. And I had this conversation just recently, and my maturity as a leader now and a business owner now, I look back and I really appreciate the relationship that I had with Mama D because of her ability to take ownership and her ability to, she didn't treat me like an owner. She treated me like the role that I had in the company.
Yep.
But at the same time, when I was in that owner seat, she respected me as the owner. As and what I really learned about all of that is that what she was doing was holding me accountable as a high performing leader because she required high performing leadership to succeed. And all of that resistance that I thought I was getting from her and her trying to tell me how to do my job or thinking that she wants to take over or her just disagreeing with me. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm the owner. What do you mean disagree with me? You know, what an immature, pompous ass. It was really her holding me accountable and holding me to the standard that she required. And what a
You created.
great person. Yeah, she was the best. And we did create that and she was holding me to that standard.
As she should.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I learned more, working with her because of the role that she played. Because I leading my technicians, that was an easy job for me, and I had the best fucking guys. I had the best guys, but that was smooth sailing for me. I didn't know how to do Mama D's job.
Nor did you want to.
I really didn't, and
You didn't have to.
I didn't. And 5 years I was in that company. I really don't think I ever answered the phone one time.
I mean, I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to serve them as good as my team can.
Mhm.
And I know that.
And that takes humility as a leader and as a business owner, recognizing that really the secret to a successful team is finding people that are better than you at their job.
And enjoy doing that job.
There's people that love answering the phone and dispatching and data entry. There's people that love it.
Why would you want to do it?
That's like waterboarding for me.
It's selfish. You're
Mhm.
essentially stealing a job from somebody else
Mhm. That you don't want to be doing
that
anyway.
you don't want to be doing.
Yeah.
So why are you doing it? Because it's too expensive? Come on. What's your time
Oh.
worth out as a technician? Like you got to value your time.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's all your time. And again, that's the trap that at the end of the day, financially, that's the trap people get stuck in. Is that wheel of I don't have enough money to pay for that. The answer is the opposite. You can't afford not to do it. You can't afford not to have them because that's what's crippling you and that's what's keeping you at that level you're at.
Mhm.
That's that whole thing of what you said in the beginning of all the money goes into a bucket, all the bills come out of the bucket, and then at the end of the year, you hand the bucket to your accountant and you say, "Let me know what I have left." Terrible way to run a business. Sorry, there's no other way to it's terrible.
It is a terrible way.
Terrible, terrible way. You can't do anything with that information other than be reactive. And that's a reactive does not work in a business.
No. And you can't fully own, operate, and control your business if you don't understand finances.
And again, you don't have to know them to an accountant level. That's why you have an accountant. You just have to know how to read the gauges.
Mhm.
That's it. And yeah, it looks complex. So does a cockpit of an airplane.
Mhm.
That pilot's no different than you and I. They just learned how to fly the airplane.
Yep. Yep.
Same applies to business. And I'm not saying you have to like doing it. Understand it and then say, I understand this. I understand that I don't like doing this. Here you go, sir. This is your new job.
But you have to understand how to review reports
But if
and
you
again, read the gauges.
but if you understand it
Yeah.
and you know how to navigate your business based on understanding your financials, then you'll have extra money to hire
Mhm.
a person to replace you to do that task.
Mhm.
But the whole I can't afford it, it's that is one mentality. It's tough to get over too because
Mhm.
you're scared. What if I buy this new van and can't make the payments? Well, think back. I mean, what has your business been like? I mean, I'm not expecting you to do that day one. I would advise it and say just rip the band-aid off, jump head first. Why not? You're jumping anyways.
Mhm.
What's a little deeper? But somebody who's been in business for a little bit, look back. Has there been periods where you made no money? If there are, then you got to figure out how to correct it. If there isn't, then why not push a little harder? That's the other part is people get comfortable, and I'll leave it at that. But we could go forever here.
Mhm.
This is the point of the course.
So, turning back to kind of what we started in the beginning, right? Blue collar insiders, developing a coaching program where there's accessibility, there's community, there's education, there's accountability, and there's a roadmap for people. That's what we have created.
It's better than what I said.
No, it's the same thing you said.
I like to simplify things.
So this being Blue Collar Insiders episode 1, Greg, you're gonna see Greg on here once or twice a month. We're gonna have these conversations. We're going to continue to inform and educate. We're going to continue to empower people, and we're going to continue to really, really, really fight to grow this community and get people where they stop owning jobs, they start owning a business, they do get some of their freedom back. They do know how to hire, empower, and delegate,
Mhm.
and they stop fighting this internal battle with themselves of trying to fucking do it all by themselves all the time and do it alone.
And that's the takeaway right there. You're not alone. There are s so many hundreds of millions of tradespeople out there
Mhm.
worldwide.
Yep.
We are the people who build everything you see, use, touch, everything. We are those people. You're not alone. You're
No.
not the first person to do it.
So let's talk. I'm going to give give a piece of information here for cost, right? So to join the boot camp, to join the 12-week course, it's 147 a month. And when we chose that and then we built the course, even I was like, God damn, that's not very expensive. Because of what they're getting, right? And because of what we're doing. So, and I'm saying that selfishly because if you understand the value that we're going to give you and the tools that we're going to equip you with, and again, the community that you're going to get, it's going to be 147 a month to join the group coaching. And you're going to get access to a lot of stuff. And we're going to continue to share things and grow things and develop things
Yep.
as we build this. But Wednesday, there's going to be a webinar Wednesday, the 17th, 6 Eastern Standard Time, 3 Pacific Standard Time. And then the 24th, there's going to be a webinar at those same times where you and I are going to talk about roles, responsibilities, expectations, and the benefits of knowing your numbers and overcoming the fear of learning the language. And so jump on those webinars. You can go to www.trupros, that's trupros.com/bootcamp. That's where you sign up. Again, it is free, and you'll get to see Greg and myself, and you'll get to be a part of a community where we're going to grow, build, and develop your success, your company. So that's where you're going to find us. Greg, anything in closing, my friend?
No, sign up. That's all I have to say.
Just sign up. Just
Sign up. At least come to the webinar.
Mhm.
It's very, very similar to this.
Mhm.
It's informational, but it's stuff you got to know. It's not even a question, and I don't care how you acquire it. You need to know it, and this
Mhm.
applies to absolutely everybody. So take that step.
So jump over to the website, sign up. You can find me on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience, emails thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com, websites thetradesmanexperience.com, and the YouTube channel where you can see Greg and I is The Tradesman Experience. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See ya.